What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me. And today, we got more Fall of the House of X by way of the story that many of us have been dying waiting for. The resurrection of Magneto. And yo, this story right here, oh my God. Fire feels like an understatement. So this is the first issue of a new 4-part miniseries to bring back the one and only master of magnetism for this fight for mutant kind. Now, in case you're wondering where Magneto has been all this time, it was back in the Avengers vs. X-Men vs. Eternals event, specifically in X-Men Red number 7, when Uranos, the grandfather of the mad titan Thanos, was unleashed on Arakko. And before Magneto died, he told Storm not to resurrect him. And he also didn't have a Krakoan backup. So if you guys are wondering how Magneto comes back without a backup or the 5, or you're just ready to have the king put his crown back on, then you know what time it is. Let's get it. So when this issue kicks off, we see Magneto in the afterlife, standing by what looks to be a lava flow. And at his feet are 5 of his helmets. And he says the words, "Aurora, I was wrong." And then we see Aurora, aka Storm, who pretty violently wakes up from this dream screaming, "No!" And then lightning crackles in her bedroom, shattering a window. So then we see the guy that she's in bed with, named Craig, who is able to calm her back down. And then we see 2 kids run in, ready for war because they're on Arakko, which is full of warriors and they just got over one war. So these kids assume that it's on again. So when Craig tells the kids that it was just a nightmare, they're like, "Aw, cute little psychos, aren't they?" But as Craig and Aurora go back to bed, he asks her if the dream was about the big push against Orchis, and she tells him that it was something else. And as they fade back to sleep, we see her thinking that it's time to die. So then we transition over to the Defenders HQ with Adam Brashear, aka the Blue Marvel, who I think the MCU should have put in the Marvels movie, but that's a whole nother story. But Brashear is there along with Taya, not 100% sure on how to pronounce her name, but we see them together as the intruder alert goes off, and then we see Storm appear telling Brashear, "I have a long journey to make through parts unknown, and you've been my travel agent before." Now Taya, she doesn't know who this is, so she's ready to fight off this supposed intruder. But Brashear tells her to calm down because he gave her access, and she's on our side. Plus, to be honest with y'all, I'm not so sure that this chick wants any of that smoke, because I don't know how much you guys have been paying attention to Storm lately, but she's been an absolute beast. But Brashear reaffirms to Storm that he's got the mutants back against Orchis, but they are highly organized, tactically, politically, technologically, and even magically. Smashing their network will take equal organization, superior tactics, and luck. But it's vital that non-mutants have mutants' backs right now. Then Storm tells him that she's in need of a favor. So then she tells him what she needs, and she actually expects for him to refuse, but he doesn't. He nods to her like it's nothing, and then he takes her to a portal room. Then she tells Brashear that he seems a little bit nonchalant, and she asks him if he really understands what it is that she's asking for. And he tells her, "You need a door into the waiting room, the lineal space between life and death that Wanda Maximoff created for mutant souls." Then he tells her that he's sure Dr. Strange or Reed Richards would tell her that hacking the afterlife like that is impossible. But the impossible is where he likes to start. So Brashear starts to get the portal ready for her, and the portal door begins to open. Then he begins to tell her now he needs to check the safety readings. But Storm thinks to herself that she's been here before, and there is no safety, only the leap. And without haste, she straight up jumps through the portal while Brashear is screaming for her not to. Then we see her on the other side, the afterlife waiting room. And the first person she's greeted by is Tarn the Uncaring. Now Tarn is what's called a genomic mage, and he has the power to change the DNA structure of others, but He was killed by Magneto back in the X of Swords or Ten of Swords event when Magneto killed him in one of the dopest ways possible. So Magneto knew that Tarn's powers were psychokinetic in nature, so Magneto placed his helmet on top of Tarn's head so he couldn't use those powers. Then he straight up crushed the helmet while it was on Tarn's head. Straight like that. So yeah, if we get Magneto back in this fight with Orchis, it's going down. So Storm asks Tarn, where are the other mutants? Why is it empty? And then he tells her that these symbols form exits and entrances. Maybe the other souls just didn't want to wait around, and how could this be paradise if they couldn't leave? But then Tarn asks Storm who it is that she came for, and she thinks to herself that she could lie, but Tarn doesn't deserve a lie. So she tells him that she's here for Magneto, Tarn's killer. And as expected, he takes this as a direct insult, a slap in the face, and now it's on. He restructures his DNA to turn into this giant monster with teeth all around his body. Pretty terrifying stuff. Then he says to Storm, I wonder, Aurora, when I consume your spirit, will you die a second death? Or perhaps some part of you will remain as part of me, and I will listen to your screams forever. But Storm, she's not worried at all, and she asks him why he doesn't just twist her genetics like he's done before. What's stopping you? So Tarn tells her that it's only his desire to prolong her agony. But Storm calls him out on his lies because she knows that the only mutant he can twist is himself. Then she calls him a self-created monster. So then he tells her that what she calls monstrosity, he calls the new frontier of being. Then he asks, what are you, Storm? In the face of this, what can you ever be? Raw material for my design? An omega level morsel. So now y'all check this out. This is how badass Storm is these days. As she tells him, you keep talking, Tarn, as if you can talk me out of seeing the ground under my feet. Who am I? I am a witch of the weather, named for the storm. And you are standing on a cloud. Then she calls down the lightning and completely obliterates Tarn. Sheesh. I told y'all, Storm ain't no joke these days. Then Storm thinks to herself that magic is a symbol and a signifier. If the waiting room was carved from the seed of magic, as Tarn claimed, then we must be careful which signifiers we step on. That's if Tarn spoke the truth. And then Storm is met with an ancient Egyptian ancestor of hers named Ashaki, who then responds to Storm's thoughts and says to her regarding Tarn, such men always hoard their knowledge to profit themselves. But nor did he lie. Your friend built a paradise for magic, and this is the garden where magic grows. Then she tells Storm to walk with her and learn. Then she asks Storm why she's there, and Storm thinks to herself that Ashaki has done much for me and mine. It feels foolish to tell her that I threw myself into the unknown on the strength of a dream. But Ashaki can hear her thoughts, so she replies that dreams are vital, little Ro. They are messages from the gods, even sometimes from eternity, the great all, and carry meaning beyond meaning. Dreams are binding. So then Storm tells her that she dreamt of Max, Magneto. He was standing on a strange shore, readying himself to enter a ruined city. His face turned away, but in torment. It was more than a dream. It was a distress call. And then Ashaki tells her that detail is important. We're in a place where magic lives. Symbols and metaphors are the true reality. Anything that you can recall may point the way. So Storm mentions that his helmet was at his feet, and there were 5 helmets, but she doesn't know why 5. So then Ashaki tells her that 5 is the number of magic, but it also has other associations. The 5th sphere is the sphere of judgment. No mercy is found there. I must ask, was this man truly your friend? Then we see Storm recalling past events with Magneto, detailing both his and her history together, including one where he nearly killed Kitty Pryde, which comes from a story back in 1981 by Chris Claremont. Then she says that he was many things. He's owed many things. If he is suffering, I have to try. Then Storm asks Ashaki what became of the souls that were there in the waiting room. And then she responds to her, would you wait forever? I do not know where they are. I only know which path they took. Then she points over in the direction of Mistress Death and says, her road. To which Storm responds, then they are gone? Forever? With no hope of return? But Ashaki tells her that there's always hope. They crossed one threshold already, and death is not the barrier that many believe. By your reckoning, I died thousands of years ago, yet here I am. And you can still return from this, if you do not tarry. As she then shows Storm back on the other side of the portal that her body is still there with Adam Brashear, who is thinking the worst and he's trying to revive her. Which this I found to be some pretty cool imagery, that it was her spirit that leapt through the portal, but her body still remains. But then Storm tells her that that changes nothing, that she came to help a friend and comrade find the mercy that is being withheld from him, or if he wishes, to bring him back to the fight. And if I must, then Ashaki finishes her statement saying that you'll bring back every dead mutant with him? Oh, Aurora, there are forces to which even a goddess must bow. Still, you are an avatar of life. Even here in the lands after, you were allowed here for a reason. Then she shows Storm a card with 5 swords on it and tells her that swords are sacred to Ma'at, the great goddess of balance. But 5 is judgment's number. A conflict is coming. One way or another, the balance will not hold. Then she tells Storm that darkness must be fought in many ways, on many levels, above and below. And the one you call Magneto holds the key. So then Storm asks Ashaki, how does she reach him? So she tells Storm that from here, the only way is via the tower. It is the way he went. A good sign if he's not ready for death's road or the turn of the wheel. And as Storm looks at this tower, to her it seems far away, but just as she thinks it, she appears inside of the tower and she's already climbing the staircase. And then in that moment, the ground beneath Storm begins to shatter and she starts to fall. And now she's wondering if this is what Magneto went through. Then as she's falling, she finds herself in a place where she's met with a Dominion. And here it gets interesting, as this Dominion tells Storm that she is linear, they are not. You are single-minded, morsel, atom, but not big enough. More information density required for resource growth into consumable. So, ask. And what they mean here is that the Dominions consume the most knowledgeable beings into themselves, but Storm doesn't yet have enough knowledge for them to find appetizing. So they tell her to ask questions, which is kind of a double-edged sword. If she asks questions, she'll get the answers that she requires, but at the same time, it'll make them want to consume her. So the first question she asks is, where am I? And the Dominion responds, beyond, outside, mystery subsection, designated, overspace. Then tells her that it's a meeting space for cosmic intellects, higher thought forms, accessible via singularity, negative zones, that this is the junction to everywhere. So then Storm asks, are there others like you? Then his Dominion responds that various exist, work, consume, and grow as Dominions exist, work, consume, and grow. But one threatens infinite power with human level thought. Threat potential, infinite. Threat duration, forever. Omegas and Beyonders were and are afraid. They are linear, we are not. As then they show her the Beyonders and say containment attempted and multiverses reboot attempted, but it was not enough. Then we see the Ace of Crowns for Enigma, to which this Dominion says, you are linear, he is not. But Storm, she isn't a dummy, and she knows that with each piece of information she gathers, that she becomes more and more of a tasty meal. So she's thinking to herself now, ask your third question, make your third wish, and pray the genie's granted without asking their price. So then she says that she's looking for the soul of Max Eisenhart, Magneto. And then they recall him, saying that he is a rare atom, that they looked at him and cataloged his pain, that they studied him and then sent him on. He was not viable or useful enough for consumption. But now Storm has gotten fattened up with knowledge, and they tell her that she is of greater interest now, worthy, useful, and consumable. But Storm, she refuses, and she tells them, consume this. And then she straight up blasts this Dominion with lightning. That's right, she blasts the Dominion with lightning. Psh, badassery. Then we see Storm start to fall again. Then we see her thinking, did Magneto go through this? This pain of knowledge, this spiritual vivisection. His life flipped through like a book. Mutant, leader, queen, Omega, goddess. So many layers that I have discovered in myself, each one waiting beneath the next. As we see the past versions of Storm since the beginning, some nice retro looks, especially that silver look, if you remember the old X-Men cartoons, and hopefully in the upcoming X-Men 97 if they actually hurry up and drop it. But then we see Storm hit the ground, and then when she gets up, we see that she's in fact in the same place that Magneto was in her dream, and we see 5 of her headpieces on the ground at her feet. Then she says to herself that she came here for Max because he was my friend, because he is in pain. But this is not a place anyone can simply visit. Behold the river. Behold the broken city. Behold judgment. Whatever this place has already done to Magneto, it will do worse to me. As we then see Magneto is in this pit of lava with blood pouring down from his eyes. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the issue. Man, y'all, I hope you guys like this issue. So far, I'm loving it myself. This Resurrection of Magneto series is off to a dope start, and it looks as if we're in for one hell of a ride. Writer Al Ewing, he's in his bag right now with this one, and I can't wait to see what he's got next for us. I love how he writes Storm as just this completely badass warrior goddess afraid of nothing. And the artwork here was pretty dope too, especially when we saw Tarn the Uncaring in full monster mode. That was pretty sick. But you guys let me know in the comments what you thought about this issue, and if you're ready for this ride. And if you like this video and this channel, then please help a brother out and drop a like, share, and subscribe to Comics Icons for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. I'm out. Peace.